Hey everybody, this is Deano doing Photoshop. Let's do this. So the best way to start is do a Control N to make a new document, or go into File, New. I find Control N the best because it's quicker. We need to make a file name, so you can name it here or you can name it when you save it. So for instance, you can call this Dean is crap. Oops, apt tutorials. There we go. Then we've got the width of the document, and we've got the measurement of the document as well. We've also got the height, then the orientation, which is portrait or landscape. We can keep it in landscape, it's fine. Then we've got artboards, which I won't go over yet. Then we've got the resolution, which is fine here, so 72. If you're doing print, you want it to be 300, but 72 is the resolution for us. So let's create, and these things you don't have to be bothered about. So let's create. So what have we got here? So we've got a background layer here. So this is the layers panel. So this is the background layer. You can, if you really wanted to, get your brush and draw on it. I say you can, but it just means like if you want to move it around, you won't be able to do it because it's just on the background layer. So I wouldn't advise doing that. So the best thing to do is to make sure anything you do is on a different layer. Some things you can keep on the same layers, but generally it's better to keep everything on a different layer, just so that you give yourself as much freedom as possible, really. If you create a new layer, so if you go to this menu here in layers, there's like a little square with a turn page sort of thing going on. So that's create new layer. So if you click on that, then you've got yourself a new layer. You can do that, or you can do Control Shift Alt and N. So if you just do Control Shift and N, I think that does a new layer, but it has a prompt going on. We'll start with the marquee tool because I'm going to make something anyway. So if you're in the marquee tool, you click and drag it. Then when you want it to be finished, you just let go. If that's the right size, just let go of it. Then what you can do is you can fill your layer 1 with the black background. So if you press Alt and backspace, it'll fill it in with black, and that's the foreground. So Alt backspace does foreground colors. If we change this, so all I did there was click on the background color, then just change it to red or something so we can see it. Then on the next layer, you can create another rectangle. So if you do that, then drag and drop, and if you press Control backspace, it does the red layer. Does a red color, sorry. There we go. So we've got two different things. So what we might want to do, so just so we keep them tidy, is name the layers. So we go maybe something like red, and if you press Tab whilst you're in this typing bit, you can move to the next one, and blue. So all I did to get in there was double click, so type in red, then press tab, then blue, or black, because it's not actually blue, black. So black, there we go. Then if you want to move the layers around, you can press Control and square bracket, which is, we've got the square brackets, which is next to the P, and just underneath the plus sign on your keyboard. So you can move them around by pressing Control and the square brackets or curly brackets, depending on which ones you prefer to call it. So there we go, center back, center front, center back, center front. On a Mac, that would be command. So any control, because I'm using a PC, is a command on a Mac. So they're the marquee and move tools. The lasso tool is similar to the marquee tool, but you get free reign with it, so you can control it just by clicking and dragging, and you can delete stuff like that, like so. So if you just do a delete when you do this, you can do that. I wouldn't advise doing that. There's better ways of deleting things. We've got the magic wand tool, which selects a specific color. If we merge all this together, so if you do Control E, it merges it together. Then what we can do, so I deselected this selection by pressing Control and D, and again Command D if you're on a Mac. If you want to reselect it, you do Control Shift and D, and it reselects it. Cool. Now, if you've got your magic wand tool, you can select different areas. So you can select the white here, you can select the black, and you can select the red. That's all it really does, really. So it just selects individual colors. Crop, you can crop it like this, and there we go. It's all good. Or if we get marquee doohickey, we can also do crop doing it this way. So if you do crop and crop, so there's two different ways of doing it. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. For some reason I prefer the selection than crop, but crop tool's also very good too, so whichever you prefer. This is the spot heal tool. I don't really use this all that much, but I'm not really an art worker. If you do want to get into that, I can, but it's quite simple to use, so I might be able to go on through that on a later date. Then we've got the brush tool, which is just your brush. So if you make a new layer, you can just do all sorts with this. So maybe draw a face, sort of thing. There we go, that'll do. This is with a mouse, so it's obviously not fantastic. There we go, we've got a face. Then if you wanted to keep that, which I probably won't, that'd be face. So just get into the habit of naming your layers, because that's really, really important, because it can get very confusing later on. If we go to an image which is a little bit more detailed, like this one, I got this from the internet, so hopefully for this example, because I'm teaching, it's nothing too much of a big deal. So you can just clone stamp a certain area of the image, for instance, so like that. But what I would advise is it will default on this current layer. So up here it'll say current layer. So what I would advise to do, surprise surprise, is do it on a different layer. So if you go to this current layer here and change it to current and below, then if you make a new layer, you can do the exact same thing and just get rid of it that way. And then if you wanted to, is this on the actual clone stamp? Yeah, this is on the clone stamp. So yeah, so if you wanted to get rid of that, you can. So look, there we go. So that's beautiful, but it obviously looks crap at the moment. So if we didn't have this layer above, we wouldn't be able to just switch it off. So that's what's really cool about it, is you can have a lot of control over your clone stamp without it being really, really destructive to your photo. History brush I've never used before. I don't really know what it does, so if anyone knows what that does, give me a shout, because I've never found a use for it. Erase, again, I wouldn't really want to use erase because it destroys your photo too much, and there's better ways of doing things than that, so I wouldn't bother using the eraser tool unless you're doing paintings and stuff, I suppose. But then you could still mask things off if you really wanted. You could still use a mask, which I'll get into in a little bit. So yeah, so eraser I wouldn't really use. Gradient is really useful. So this actually, it seems as though I mentioned the mask. So gradient's kind of cool. You can use it in multiple ways. So you can, obviously it's a gradient, so it does this when you use your gradient. What they're really useful for are masks. So what you've got to make sure is that if you want it to be what's this one called? I think it's like a linear gradient. you want to make sure it's on a linear gradient, so you can like have radial gradients and other crazy other gradients as well. But generally, the linear one's the best one. I've got my gradient here. Then I make a mask. So how I make a mask is this: next to FX, there's this little square rectangle even with a circle inside. You click on that, and by the side of it you'll have the image and you'll have the mask. Image, mask, image, mask. So on the mask, if you alt click it, you'll notice that it only has black and white. So black is deleting and white is where the image will be. So if I do that, that's the black line there. So I've done like a W shape, then some weird squiggles. That's what's getting deleted. So any white is where the image is. Cool. So if we use the gradient, so you've got to make sure that you're on the layer to the right. So this white layer here, this one here. Then you just go dushk, dushk. There we go. And there we go. You've got a gradient. And then if I went into the layer, so if you alt click your layer, you do this, and you can see it. So you can see your layer. Even you can see your mask even. There we go. So that's that. I don't really use blur tool that much. Essentially, it just blurs things. But there's better ways of doing it. So I mean, if anyone else again has a reason for using this, give me a shout, because I don't really use it. It might be good, might be cool to learn why people use it. Same with dodge tool. I think it does like some weird sort of like saturation to the background. Again, don't really use that. I think it's more for photography sort of stuff. Pen tool is really good. So pen, you can click it and you can like go around objects and you can create a mask. So if you just do all this, so you can either be really rough with it, or you can go really close into it and you can get really detailed sort of masks with it. So a lot of people tend to use these as quite detailed masks. So if you go bosh, bosh, dish, I'll do it quickly so we don't spend too long just doing it. So when you get to a circle, if you just click and drag, then when you get to a point you want, then you can, if you hold down Alt, you can move your lever, then just like move it quite close, then you can just click there and just drag and drop it up. Then you can hold Alt again. If it's too high, you can just arrow keys it. So if there's arrow key up, it moves up your little dot, then you can just go bosh. Then same again, dish, move this down, dish, dish, then same again, so click and drag, Alt, and drag in a bit, then do this, 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 this. So if you just do a straight click, it does a straight line. If you do a click and drag, it adds a curve. See? Then hold down Alt, then bosh. Move this down. Again, you can just move this upwards. Then you can press Alt and move it to where you want it to go. So just make sure it's the right angle for the next point. Then click. Then at the end, you'll get this little circle by the end of it, by the side of your pen. So to the right hand side, this little circle. Yeah. Then just click, and there we go. There's your path. Then all you do is in layers, there's usually default, it says paths. Then you can just go control click on the path and it makes it into a selection. Then you can just do a mask. So if you go bosh, it's like, oh no, I've got it wrong. Do control I. There you go, you got a very roughly cut out aeroplane. You can also do vector masks. So if you do your pen as a shape, delete this. So I won't do the whole thing because it'll take too long. what you can do, say if we just wanted this nose, the nose of the plane, doing a little bit of a wrap there. So if you change the pen into from path to shape, you can go bosh, come on, bosh, bosh, bosh. So same sort of idea as before. So you can just go this, then this, then this, then this, then this. So let's just keep, let's say we just want to keep this bit here. Yeah. So if you just want to keep this bit here, just go bash, 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 bash. This is really, really quick. And this is an even better way of doing it because you can adjust the actual mask later. So I'll show you in a second. So just do this, very rough. So you can just do this, and let's not bother with the rest of that wing. Just go up here, go up here, go up here, go up here, and then we're back to the beginning. Cool. Then what you can do, I'll get rid of this mask here, delete. So if you hold down Control and move it into the plane, it's just over the top of it, you'll be able to see like a little blue line when you've done it right, and it'll do that. It's like, oh no, my picture's disappeared. This is because there's a shape above it, so all you need to do is delete that. And to that, you got a vector mask, and a vector mask you can adjust really, really easily. So you can go into the details a little bit more if you wanted to. So if you hold down, if you press A, which is the selection tool, you can press Shift A if it's not this white arrow. So if you press Shift A and click on a point, you can just go bash, 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 and move that. Then same with this. Then if you wanted to adjust the path, because this bit here isn't quite right, you can just go like that, then like that, then move it down a bit, then maybe that's too high, so you can just go move that down. This isn't close enough, so you can move this across. Oh, come on, click on it, would help. Go this side here, then you can see a bit of yellow here, so you move this up a little bit. Same with this, there's a little bit, you can see a bit of yellow going on, so you can just move this here, and so on and so forth. You can just adjust this to your heart's content. It's pretty simple to do, and it makes it so that you don't ever lose the image ever. So if like I was working for a client and said, oh no, I don't like this crop, you've not lost your image. So you can just go, oh no, okay, I can just take this off, and you get your image back. And it's bosh, it's back again. Or you can, if you're not sure that the client's going to be all sort of like, oh no, we kind of like it, but let's try something else. It's like, okay, you can just switch off the mask by doing a Shift and click. Or if it's not a client, if it's just for fun and you're not too sure, you can just Shift and click it, and you can switch off your layer mask. So that works for both this vector one and the one what you created earlier with this one. So you can do the same with this. You can do some random stuff with this. It's like if for some reason they really liked the fact that it was doing that, it's like, oh no, I don't know if I like that. You can just switch it off as well, or you can just delete it by click drag to the trash can and delete. And the same with this. So you can click drag trash can, delete vector mask. Yes. Cool. So that's that. There's also, I forgot to mention, but there's also a use for the lasso tool. So if you're wanting to make this just sky, but there's a plane in the way, normally what you'd have to do is get this clone stamp. Oh shit. So with a clone stamp, click an area we want it to do, then slowly just delete it away. So you can do it like that, but it takes a little while, and also it's just a bit of a pain, to be honest. So what you can do is use the lasso tool. So if you go, select just roughly around the edges. Oops, try that again. Select roughly around the edges. There we go. Then if you do Shift Delete, it'll bring up this fill menu. Then you press Content Aware, OK, and press Enter, and ta-da! It deletes the plane. You've got to do this on the actual background image, so it won't let you do it if there is another layer above it. So if you had a layer here and try to do Content Aware, it won't let you do it. I'll give you that. So you've got to make sure you're on the original layer. So Shift Backspace, it'll be this fill. Then you've got this drop down. If it's on foreground, background, color, pattern, history, whatever, stick it onto Content Aware. Then press OK. Then all you do is just press OK, and it does it. It's not fantastic, but if it's a relatively simple background with like the background around it like this, it works really well. If it's really complex, it won't really work that well at all. Okay, next. So we don't use dodge that much. Pen, just shown. Type tool, this is really useful for just generally, you can just, there's two ways of doing this. You can create a text box and just type away. Then if you want to stop typing and you're happy with the copy, press Control, then Enter, and there you go. You got your words. There's another way of doing it. If you just click, then type away, same thing, and Control and Enter to do that, to release yourself from it. The selection tool I mentioned earlier, so this is to select these points on a vector shape or just on a general vector. So if I make a shape again with pen tool, I can press A and it takes me to this selector thing. So the black arrow moves the entire object. The white arrow, you have to select a section, then you can move it individually like this. Yeah, there we go. So you can select multiple arrows, so you can just do it like this if you want, and you can do it like this. You can delete points if you wanted to break the arrow, and all that good stuff. This is the vector shape tool, so whatever shape you make with this will be a vector shape. So at the moment it's on square, so I'll make a square. You've got your fill here at the top, so you can take the fill out and put the fill in here if you wanted to, so you can have it full of grey, or you can just have the stroke on, or you can have both, it doesn't really matter. Then you've got so within the square, I think you can, so you can go in the properties, and here we have the rounded edges thing, so you can make your square have rounded edges really easily. Then we've got the rounded circle one. We just did that within our own one though, so that's not really all that useful anymore. We've got the circle, over ellipse, polygon, line. There's not much point in the line anymore because you can just do this with your pen tool now. And custom shapes. So there's all sorts of cool custom shapes within here. So you can do loads of different things. So I don't know, let's just go rabbit. So you can custom shape a rabbit if you really wanted to. Yeah, there's loads of like paws as well. Yeah, so there's all that kind of stuff too to play around with. Hand tool, you can just move it around like this if you hold down space. Zoom, again, is pointless being on the toolbar. You can just press Control plus and minus Control plus and minus. There we go. And I think that's all the tools, really. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. I'll do another one, so stay tuned. See ya.